All right, Eric, welcome to the For Love We Heal podcast. So for our listeners, Eric has experienced relationship OCD, disorganized attachment. So he fits into the fits the bill in terms of the issue that probably many of you are dealing with that are listening. So really thankful for Eric coming on the show and doing this and sharing his story. Hopefully it inspires others and gives everyone a taste of what they can experience through working with the internal family systems model and parts work. So, yeah. So, Eric, tell us a little bit about you and kind of what your story is through relationship OCD, disorganized attachment.
Um, it's been a long road for me figuring out what was happening. I In my second real relationship, I had a relationship that was very normal, very mellow. I was at a point in my life where I don't think I was very emotionally awakened, and um, and that ended with a whimper. It was just a long drag of like, I guess we do dinner together. Um and at the end of that relationship, I fell in love for the first time, really fell in love for the first time. And went through a pretty difficult, traumatizing relationship with a pretty mentally ill partner. And that that really started my interest in what's going on with me, because I really fell apart for a couple of years after that and couldn't function at all. At the time, I had been traveling and hitchhiking, so I got back from that and could not reintegrate into society. I was just heartbroken and ruminative, and the rumination just would not go away. Um, Knowing that it was not a good relationship, it just wouldn't turn off. And uh, had a couple more relationships with a similar pattern. It would be a short thing, sometimes not even a relationship, just like an encounter, and it would be 1 or 2 years, 3 years before I was able to finally let go and even
Wow.
think about being in a relationship again.
Wow. Okay.
So that was the setup.
Okay.
The punchline is I'm adopted,
Okay.
and I had not integrated the understanding that adoption has an effect yet, and started going to therapy in 2018, after not being in therapy since I was a kid. Um, I was I was diagnosed with depression and ADHD at 7 years old. So I had been medicated my whole childhood and gone to therapists and the whole suburban solution. Um,
Yep. Yep.
and so I realized that my birth story made everything make sense. Um, I was um, I was I was given up for adoption at birth, and I
At birth.
spent the first month in the hospital. So there's a month gap between being born and being adopted. And I've since created a story about what that must have been like based on the things that I experience in relationship.
Yep.
And yeah, once I started putting those pieces together, the disorganized attachment became glaringly obvious that everything in my life, not just my relationships, but my work, my relationship with school, the
Yes.
way that I lived with friends, my ability to stay consistent and available just to live in one place. It was all this same
The same.
terror around consistency.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and so that has been my exploration in the last 4 or 5 years, is
Wow.
um, going into that work, looking at CPTSD as a possible explanation, disorganized attachment, doing a lot of attachment research, um, and really coming to the place where I know so much shit about being
Yeah.
disorganized, and it is changing very little, and it
Yes.
destroyed a recent relationship, and I am just on the front edge of finally not being in a daily panic about this last
Okay.
relationship about
Okay.
10 months ago.
Talk to me a little bit about when you're in the relationship and then when you get out of it, but like what is the turmoil that like what happens for you internally? You talked about obsessing, but yeah, let's flesh it out a little bit.
Okay. Um, so I'll talk about my most recent relationship.
Okay.
Uh, my most recent relationship was with somebody who was pretty anxious at the beginning of the relationship, and I had come out of a heartbreak like a year before that and was still feeling pretty wounded and protective, um,
Yeah.
uh, which was new for me because I usually am obsessed on the spot and can't let go. And I was trying so hard to keep this distance. And what came up that was repetitive, whether I was feeling anxious or I was feeling avoidant, was um, a big freeze response. If the
Freeze.
tensions went high, I started shutting down. Um, if I had something that I needed that I wasn't getting from a partner who was more distant,
Yeah.
like some previous partners I had, I would never talk about it. I would always just spend all of my time just ruminating on like, okay, what's the perfect way to approach them so that they don't get mad at me for
Yeah.
wanting more time with them, or um,
That's right.
how can I how can I imply that I want to see more of them
Without
by
asking directly.
by giving them goo goo eyes and loving them and trying to be like, well, you want me around, of course, don't you? Because I'm so
Yeah.
good. I'm such a good partner, right? Um, and in this most recent relationship, I tried to break that, and it ended up with just a ton of conflict. I could not stay regulated anytime that there was a hint of upset or pulling away. You know, I
Yeah.
either one would make me freak out. If I was the one who wanted space, I would shut down and pull away and couldn't stay with the conversations. Um, but if I wasn't the one who initiated pulling away, I would go into sheer panic and I'd be like, this whole thing's falling apart. I'm losing it. What am I going to do? How am I going to fix this? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't, you know,
Exactly. So here we're flipping between avoidant and anxious, right? So it's like I sometimes talk about it as like situationally, right? Situationally
mhm.
avoidant, situationally anxious. It sounds like when your partner would pull away, or when you'd fear them getting upset with you, you would kind of flip into that anxious attachment. Um and is it like, would you go into kind of proximity seeking and trying to, okay, but at the same time
Yeah.
it sounds like with this sort of inability to vocalize how you're actually feeling and what you want in that moment, so did it feel like it almost like you're kind of frozen in paralysis in that, like you,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I would sometimes be sitting with my partner and she would be, you know, pouring out her heart, and and inside I'm full of just immense overwhelming feeling, and so much that I want to say, and my mind will just not focus and slow down on something to say or trust that anything I say is going to make anything better.
got it,
Um
okay,
per and yeah, so I would shut down. On either side, I would shut down. Like that was just
okay,
my I would hit a point of emotional dysregulation, either from being in my head and wanting something that I wouldn't allow myself to speak,
yeah,
and I would shut down, or I would be getting requests and couldn't parse how how that was going to affect me and what I wanted to do about how it was going to affect me or how I wanted to meet that. It just wouldn't come together and structure so that I could
yes,
talk to this person.
Well, I mean, disorganized really fits what you're saying, right? I mean, the word disorganized, it's like that's what you swim in relationships.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So out of what you're describing, what would be a good what would be something to focus on today with our work? Like what part of this, the avoidant side of you that pulls away, the anxious side of you, the one who shuts you down, like which part do you want to focus on?
Um, Sorry. Um, I
Yeah. You're checking inside.
yeah. My So currently I'm in the state of trying to consider dating again, um and the thing that is coming up more than anything is I feel like I worked through over the course of this last 4-year relationship, I feel like I worked through a lot of the avoidance strategies. Um,
Okay.
and what's left is an anxiety where I can't ask somebody out. I can hardly get myself to not be nervous and stumbling over my words around people I'm interested in, and I'm
Okay.
like aware internally that this is I don't know this person. This feeling is got no substance to it, and but it's terrifying. And I'm 42 years old, and I'm like, why am I still terrified to tell a girl I like her?
Yeah.
And that level of anxiety, and I guess to some degree, um, is what I'd really like to work on.
Okay. Sounds good to me. All right. So when you're in that situation, when you're about to ask a girl out or whatnot, you talked about the anxiety, but what's the experience inside? You said stumbling over your words. Just see if you can go inside and notice what that's like. Describe it for me a little bit.
It's it's like if my feelings were inside of a closed book, and I'm trying to open it up and read from it.
Mhm.
There's a 100-pound weight sitting on top of the book,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I feel that, in my chest, solar plexus,
Okay.
kind of area, and yeah, sometimes it comes out as like getting a piece of something I want to say, and then like it coming out, but like a word coming out fumbly. And I'm an orator that's like, and a storyteller, it's something I do, and it is so terrifying
Frustrating.
when I can't
Oh, that
talk.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
bet. Okay, so we're focusing on the weight then that sits on the book of everything that you would want to say.
yeah.
Okay, so focus in on that weight. Sounds like you're visual. Are you visual? Do you see the weight?
Imaginative. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So notice that weight and just see how you feel toward the weight.
Mm. The best I could describe it is feels like it feels like a center of gravity, like everything else is movable, and it is a inert, immovable force of nature. Uh,
Okay.
And yeah, it's
Probably
like I
by
don't,
design,
right?
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's really heavy, it's immovable. That's what you're noticing about it. It doesn't want to
yeah,
budge.
right.
Okay.
And I like have to very, very purposefully try to lift it up. And even then it doesn't go off the book. It's like I'm lifting and peeking
Yeah.
in the book.
Okay, got it. And then okay, and then how do you feel toward the weight? So it
Sad.
itself is you're sad. Okay. Okay. Because of how
Yeah,
it
like
yeah.
it feels like it's something, it's like a riddle of great consequence that I have spent years trying to figure out, and I'm past frustrated. Like, frustration is exhausted and worn out, and I am just disappointed that
You're disappointed. Okay. I get
I
that.
don't know how to move it.
So you have been in the past there has been a part of you who's gotten really frustrated at the wait, and you've that's sort of like devolved into disappointment and sadness, and yeah.
I would say it goes through waves with
It goes through waves. Okay.
more or less every relationship. I will go through the
Okay.
process of either being really upset at it. This last relationship, I was able to express that upset, but every relationship before that, it was all internal.
Okay.
I would just at the end of the relationship before that, some days I would come home and snap and break things in my house without even recognizing that I was angry. Um,
Yes.
and that I haven't had that in a while, and it feels like it has just become more and more depressed and disappointed
Okay. Okay.
over
I get
time.
that. Okay. So let's just see if the sad part or this depressed one can give us a little bit of space so that we can maybe open into some curiosity with this weight so that we can help it. See if that's doable.
Okay.
All right. So let's thank that part for giving you some space. All right. And then notice how you feel toward the weight now.
I noticed that my eyes are moving around and looking at different parts of it more carefully instead of this, I don't know, uh, monolithic thing that just
Okay,
takes up
good.
the whole room.
So there's some curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay. So hold that curiosity and just see if this weight can look at you and notice you and your curiosity. See if it's able to recognize you there. Saw an eyebrow raise your eyebrow raise there for a second.
I imagined a gleam of light off of I'm imagining a kettlebell, a giant kettlebell, and I imagined a gleam of light off of it, like that I
Yeah,
hadn't noticed before, but
that's really good.
nothing more specific.
Okay. But does it seem to notice you there with it?
I don't know that I would describe it that way, but it feels like there's less of a barrier between me and it.
Okay. All good by me. So just ask it what its role is.
There is so much in the book,
I bet there
and
is.
the sense is that this is a bigger book than anybody can handle, that anybody can read, and I'm afraid what will happen if I ask them to read it.
Oh my goodness. Uh yeah. Is it okay to notice those feelings too?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Just welcome these feelings. They're totally welcome here. Yeah. So the weight, it sounds like the weight is worried how other people would handle what's in the book. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ask the weight, what is it concerned would happen if it let your book be known?
I have lived my whole life with this deep sense of being an outsider and never really feeling at home in nearly any social group or
Uh-huh.
friend group, or certainly not when I'm out in public and at a bar or something, and possibly meeting all of that.
You felt really alone. in a lot of
Yeah.
life. Is that right?
I don't know that I've had glimpses of not feeling alone. But that is the overwhelming feeling of my life is being alone. And it's funny, I'm a community activist. My whole life is about building community and building a political consciousness around connection. Like this is my life,
Wow.
and I realized at some point, of course, the wounded healer story, this is my thing, etc. But yeah, this feels like a I've been telling the story that I am an outsider.
Mm,
And if I open the book, the story comes true. It's no longer just a an assumption I make to stay connected to people as much as I can,
okay.
but that the story that I am an outsider that will be revealed, everyone will see it and go, oh yeah, yeah, you belong where you are on the outside.
So there'll be a confirmation of that belief then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've got my ideas around how why that would be so bad, but see if the weight can tell you what would be so bad about that if that story was confirmed.
The thought that came to mind is I would have to admit that this life isn't worth living.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And it is there a feeling that forces that? Like is it the loneliness that would force the life not worth living?
Yeah, I've wanted to I've wanted to be deeply connected to someone, anyone, for my whole life, and particularly my adult life. I don't
Mm.
have any family. My family is all past,
Oh wow.
um, and I don't have a safe place to. I don't have a
That's
safe place to put that desire for connection. And if I find out that that's
so
that the rest of the world will leave me in the same place, that I
wow.
yeah,
That
why?
that
Why
makes
would I
sense for me.
bother? Why would I bother anymore?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Does this making sense? Why the weight's
Yeah.
so protective? Okay, because there's a because it sounds like if in other words, and just see if this resonates. If I show my book, if I if I let in other words, like if the weight removes itself from the book, other people are going to see what's there, and they're not going to want to. Is it like they won't want anything to do with me?
The image that I got, I actually the weight disappeared for a second and I was just the book opened and I was looking at it. It's a very ornate manuscript. And I'm a amateur linguist and I
Okay,
it is not in English. It is
it's not
not
in English.
decipherable. It is tiny script from top to bottom in foreign alphabets.
Wow.
And yeah, I guess why would you be around something you can't understand?
Okay. So what it sounds like the weight's protecting the abandoned part of you.
Yeah,
Is that right?
that seems right.
I mean, I know that there's some parts that carry frustration and depression and sadness about this weight, and that's totally understandable given how these weights can impact our lives. And at the same time, I'm wondering if we can hold some gratitude for the weight, for how it's been trying to help you. Like, see if you can open your heart to that weight. And then just, yeah, if you can, notice what happens when you do that.
You know, it's interesting that I chose something that is super inanimate. Um, the sense that I get is that it is impartial, and it's hard to have feelings for something that's not like returning anything. It's just like, oh,
Okay.
this this
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah. Can we, I mean, yeah, so it's like it's hard to have feelings for something that's not, it's not like a, there's not really a relational piece there between you and it. It's sort of inanimate.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I guess when I say it's impartial, there is like a glimmer of a sense of it. Yeah.
Okay. What's happening
Eh,
there?
I had the image of saying thank you to a tombstone at like a soldier's grave for a second. It's, you know, there's nothing there
Oh,
to talk to. It's just thanks. Like very,
okay. Okay.
very like you were doing your job. Cool.
And how does that land for the weight?
It's definitely got the light shining off of the corner of it again, kind of feel.
What's that?
Well, my mind immediately went to apologies, there's a garbage truck outside.
Oh, that's
Um
okay.
uh that there's that I took a painting class this last semester, and the first thing we did was the light on a corner of a ball on the side of a ball and how shadows work and all of that. And
Yep.
the first thing that I thought is, well, there's a light source. And I don't know, I felt like I was in a study and the light was really the room was really full of light. Whatever the light source is, it was really, really
Okay.
big. And
Okay.
my attention pulled away to that when I
When you
noticed
think,
the shine on it and thanked it. And
okay. All right. Okay. So let's let the weight know something that if or when it's ever willing to, that you can heal that abandoned part in there that feels so alone, so that the weight doesn't have to work so hard to keep a wrap on all of these pages anymore. And I know we can do that. So just see how that lands for the weight.
I just the same I keep getting the same like just yeah, and
Okay.
this is the way it is. Okay.
Okay.
Um
It, like, is there a
it-
willingness to let you be with that part in there?
I I mean, I wonder why I chose this image because the feedback is, I don't know. I'm a weight. You move me or you don't.
Okay. Okay.
And it's like I don't need to be on top of the book to be happy.
Interesting.
I can be off
Interesting.
to the side sitting on the table next to it and be just as myself as I was sitting on top of the book.
Okay. I mean, just see how, okay, is this making sense for you?
Yeah, I'm
So this
trying
is where
to.
you're talking about the like how it's impartial. It's kind of like do or don't. I'm here, and is it kind of like I'm here to help when you need me, but you can decide whether or not I'm going to be active in that, or
Yeah, I'm noticing its size,
okay.
and its size says that there's no way it could be as heavy as I thought it was. And and its impartiality is like you fully have the capacity to move me here or there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
whatever you choose to do, this is my job. Just I
Wow.
can I can sit over there and I can sit on a table and have the light shining on me and just look like a pretty ornament, or I can be sitting on top of this thing doing the work.
Okay.
It's up to you.
And what and how are you down to be with whatever's in there?
In the book,
Yeah. Or what parts come up for you around going to that wounded one, that part that feels so alone?
um, when I was in um, grade school and early high school, I was particularly early high school. I would go into the library during lunch, um, before I really had any friends at the new high school. And my whole freshman year, I would sit and I would just read the world books. I would read encyclopedias and I would just flip through them and just absorb information. I was just that was what I did. That's what made me happy. And um
Ah,
and I got this sense that in my alone time, I have been sitting with the book open, trying to decipher and understand what's inside of it for so long. And I haven't been able to do that.
oh,
Or
oh. So you don't feel like in this moment, is there some doubt that you're going to be able to decipher what's in that book in front of you?
yeah, there's a fear that I won't be able to. It's like I've decrypted the alphabet and I understand the sounds and I'm putting together the syllables, but I don't know, the vocabulary is still really low and I don't know the syntax and I don't know the grammar. And
Do you know what keeps you know what just came up for me? I don't know if this is if
hmm,
this doesn't resonate, just let's toss it out into the garbage bin. I keep hearing pre-verbal, like before language. And what's pre-verbal for you?
I mean, this is a core part of how I tell my birth story is my trauma is pre-verbal. It is before I could make sense of anything. And
Yeah. So I'm wondering if maybe we don't decipher from here, which I imagine you learn to do a lot from here,
yeah,
especially growing up,
yeah,
because up here was probably the only place that was safe. Does that does that resonate?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And just notice what the feelings are that are coming up too.
I spent a lot of time playing by myself as a kid, as an only child. Um, and my favorite thing was to create these elaborate dramas with Legos. And I just felt myself inside of my consciousness as I'm playing, and it feels, I don't remember having a body. I don't remember having a body as a child. Like I remember like the like a bubble of consciousness and all
Yep.
that's going on inside of it, and like objects of perception, but they don't feel like tangible.
Yep. Yep. Because to know that you had a body meant what?
The only thing that comes to mind is that I was real.
That I was real. Yeah. And if you knew you were real, then what?
I'd have to feel it all.
You'd have to feel it all, wouldn't you? Yeah. Probably a hell of a lot more than your nervous system could handle.
Sometimes it seems like more than my nervous system can still handle.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So you see that child playing?
Mhm.
Okay. How do you feel toward the child?
This sense of, you're so lucky that you don't know how the world is going to receive you yet.
There's love. Is that right?
Yeah, and compassion, empathy.
Compassion.
Yeah,
Okay. That's great. See if it's okay with everybody else in here. If they can let you in to be with that guy in there.
I think so.
Okay. All right. So what I'd like you to do is actually go be with them. Hold that heart wide open. Hold your compassion. That's right. Let me know when you're there. Seems like you are already. Okay. Yeah. Doing great. Notice what happens as you go back there and you hold your heart open with this little guy.
Feel fascinated. Kind of like how I was looking at all the different points on the weight and noticing it as something more than a monolith for the first time.
Yeah.
Just like watching him move and feeling kind of an impersonal curiosity,
Yeah.
or The first image I got is smashing spaceships together, me and him smashing. And
Oh,
and that was I was never that physical with my I was always very measured and storied, and I was not like the other kids who were just smashing things together because wow, this is fun.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that was the first image I got.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Still there with him?
Mhm.
All right. And he's aware of you?
He's not currently paying attention to me.
So let him set the tempo here. But just, you might just kind of find a gentle way to get his attention.
He doesn't want to look at me.
Okay. All right. And is that okay with you?
Yeah, it's like I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It makes sense why.
yeah.
Okay. Let him know it's okay. He doesn't have to. You This is my wording, so borrow it if it resonates, but you're going to be right there until he's ready.
I like sprawled out on my side, and I'm just watching him.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I asked him about one of his toys, and he was wouldn't look at me. He's still just playing his thing, but he's started telling me the story about a couple of the figures.
That's right. That's right. Stay right there with him in that way. Keep your heart wide open. Let it all unfold as it needs to here.
He's very invested in doing his own thing.
Good for him. Good
Yeah.
for him.
And
Ask
not
him if,
defiantly so. It doesn't seem like he's just like in it.
yeah, yeah. How old is he?
Somewhere between 5 and 8 in that
Between
time
5 and 8.
range.
Okay. Okay. This is totally up to him. If he doesn't want to answer, just let him keep playing. Ask him. Ask him what he really loves about what he's doing right now.
I get a sense of it, but I don't get his words.
That's great.
He loves how all of the players are he loves the drama of it. He loves the
Yeah.
feeling of a story arc, the
Yeah.
feeling of not knowing what's going to happen next with all of these characters that he's made little worlds for, and how they're going to interact with each other, and how they're going to like each other or not like each other, or
Yeah. Yeah.
how they can be heroes.
Yeah, good. Okay. See if he wants to tell you what the story is that's playing out right now amongst these characters. Or have you feel or sense. Doesn't need to be words.
I'm remembering I had a big living room, and this is where I did all of my playing. I had like a, you know, one of those houses that was kind of obscene for how much actual activity happened in it. Um, and and I would leave my Lego sets out for weeks. These grand operas would last weeks and weeks, and
Uh,
I would have them I would have like different groups in different corners having to like slowly like find each other and find situations
wow, that's so
uh
cool.
and be surprised by each other, and um you know, of course it probably beat each other up, or um
Yeah.
have a bad guy and a good guy, the whole thing. But uh I lost the question.
It's just some curiosity around like who are the players and what dramas are unfolding and you know are there are there any particular challenges that any of these characters are facing or struggling with or any main problems.
You know, I'm the first character that came to mind is uh Sir Melrose, who was one of my actual characters, and he was my best friend's
Oh,
the representation of my best friend who lived in another city nearby, and I didn't really get to see him. We would talk on the phone sometimes and whatnot, but he would always have a key part to play in whatever. He was like the best knight besides the guy that was me, always.
oh wow.
And um, yeah, and I'm remembering, and I was never the king. The king was always the king. I was always one of the best knights.
Uh-huh.
And and yeah, there was like this brotherhood between these two knights, and
So there was
uh,
a even though there was some distance there was a real connection between these two nights.
yeah. And oftentimes they'd get separated, or you know, the characters would get separated and have to go through some sort of battle or something to find each other. They'd get, you know, caught by the bad guys and, you know, held. I guess that's the drama I'm seeing played out.
Okay. Okay, got it. All right. Just thank him so far. Just really thank him for bringing you into his world.
He's very uncomfortable with the attention.
That's why we're going really slow here. Let him know we can back off whenever he feels like a little bit overwhelmed. We'll just take a few steps back. Yeah. Is, is he wanting you to is he wanting you to know a bit more around what makes him uncomfortable?
It's not what he said, and I trying to be careful of jumping to mental conclusions, but
Oh,
there's a sense that if he's being watched, that's the only way he can be. It's the only way that he can be wrong. he can
If
be,
if he's watched, it's the only way. So someone might see that he's wrong.
he's, yeah, wrong, doing something bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What do you say to that from your heart?
I love your stories. I don't think you could do anything wrong with them.
Yeah, I don't either, for whatever it's worth. I think his stories are incredible. See if you can feel that love that you have for him.
He got a little bit more rambunctious,
Good for him.
and I was not a rambunctious child.
Yeah. Well, you were behind, probably behind what you felt you needed to be. I don't know, but just see if that lands.
I mean, it checks out.
Okay. You know what? I mean, we might say to him, it's so good to see you. Look at you being rambunctious. What a delight.
The actual thing that I did was start playing with some of the Legos myself.
Nice.
Just some like parallel play. I don't.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm respecting his. It's like his inner world is the whole room, and I am tolerated.
You're tolerated, right?
I'm tolerated, and
Yeah.
if I stay still long enough and I don't, I don't pressure him too much, he kind of just ignores that I'm there, or
Got it. Totally makes sense to me. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like, you know what? It sounds like you're really attuned to him right now.
yeah, I'm starting to feel more comfortable just being in the room.
Good. Good.
I don't feel like he wants me to go away. I think he might have wanted me to go away at first. He wasn't willing to tell me or show me, but he was trying to ignore me.
Yeah.
Not even trying. He was compelled to ignore me.
Yeah. Eric, let him know something. Just let him know, just to give him a heads up. In a, I don't know, few minutes or so, we're gonna start to close. But that doesn't mean that your connection with him ends. So you might see what he's going to need from you moving forward here, or what would feel really, what would feel the best for him before we close up today.
He wants to leave all of the characters where they belong for the next time that he gets to play.
Okay.
And he asked me to help with one of the corners
Oh, nice.
to set it up just right so that he remembers where the story left off.
It's amazing.
And now he's doing his own thing.
You down to help him then?
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Take your time. Just go ahead and Do that in the way that feels best for him. Okay. Okay. Sounds like that's his safe space anyway. I mean, usually when I end with people, I recommend or offer like, hey, does this part want to go somewhere else? But it sounds like this is actually his spot.
Yeah, I keep trying
Right.
to imagine him leaving the room and going on to something else because playtime is over, and it's more like he's waiting for me to leave the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and in a way, it's like in here, does playtime have to be over at all? Or can it just continue for as long as he wants?
That is the sense. I don't feel anything pressing.
Good. Good. Okay. Check to see how the weight's feeling. I mean, I know there's sort of impartial anyway, but see how he's feeling. See what the general sense is inside as we start to close up today.
I see a lot more of the room. The weight is in visual proportion
Mm,
to it's like a study.
yeah.
And there's an old, antique desk with this book on it. And the first thing I noticed when I walk in the room is I remembered that the how ornate and beautiful and gilded the manuscript itself was.
Okay.
The weight feels like a piece of furniture.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah. It, and as you probably already know and have picked up on, like this little guy's got a big story to tell,
Yeah.
right? And right, so what I sensed is what you sensed too, and you kind of gave me that feedback is like I, this is like really slow with him because at first he's like, I don't want anybody in my space. And then it became near the end, it became you're tolerated in his space. And then it became actually he wanted you to be an active participant in helping put things away. So as you can see, just in the course of like 20 minutes, there's already a relationship being built with him. So your job is to stay connected to him. And we're not gonna. Do you still have a little bit of time?
Mhm.
Okay. Um, I would love to do this with you again, even to have you back on, so you can feel that out and think about it. Um, but I'm just wondering, like as we start to end the show or the call, like what's churning in your mind as we start like with what we've covered today?
One of the last images I had before I kind of left that room was the automatic urge to close the book and put the weight back on top of it. Like that's where it belongs. This is how it goes. And the conscious realization that if I did that, I would be choosing to do that.
Yeah,
That would be a that I would be deciding that that book is not beautiful and not worth looking at. Yeah.
that's right.
And that is not the evidence at hand.
That's right. You got that. So what's the choice then?
Mm.
And you might have parts that want to that have different ways of, like wanting to do things. So right, there might be a part that wants to put the weight back onto the book. There might be a part that wants to embrace it, just see what comes up for you.
One of the images, one of the piece of the image was when I went to go put the weight back on the book, I did not pick it up like it was a heavy thing. I picked it up like it was a paperweight that I was just placing back on top of it. And the sense of decision is, am I willing to consider
Yeah.
that that this book could be beautiful to anyone else who came in the room?
Yeah, that's right. I'll tell you, Eric, for whatever it's worth, I see the book in my own way, in my own mind, but I also do see a study, and I'm starting to see what's in there a little bit just from what we covered today. There's no way that I would turn away from that book. Like my curiosity in this moment is like, I want to know more. So I think others would feel the same way. Just see how that lands.
Others have, you know?
Yeah.
uh, and yeah,
It's just, have you allowed yourself to the recognition, or have you allowed that in? You know what I mean? It sounds like others have, but have you allowed that awareness in, that they actually, there's love for you?
can't quite differentiate this part, but
Yeah.
the 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 rebuttal was, you're fascinating but not enjoyable.
Ooh,
And yeah,
the
uh,
critic.
yeah. Um,
Okay.
but the people who have enjoyed me in the past were fascinated. So maybe those two things aren't.
Exclusive or mutual,
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I thank you so much. I mean, I didn't know what this was going to be like. I would just, it's like, I'm just going to go into it. We're going to see what happens. And I feel like there was depth and there's richness, and I appreciate your vulnerability. There's emotions that came out, and, and if you want to do a follow up, like another episode where we continue to get to know that boy a little bit more, then, um, I'll probably follow up with an email to you and just, see how you're doing. And would that feel good for you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Look.
Right. There's a butterfly outside of my window, and
Oh, that's
yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah, that
beautiful.
would be great. Yeah.
Okay. So let's end, and then we'll just have a little chat before we close. We'll end the recording.